What up, everybody? My name is Shannon Clements. Some call me the nomadic author. Some call me mental. Why? Because I like to think a lot. And what I like to think about on this bright sunny day after a night's rain is down here in Texas. The handling of the migrants. Well, a lot of people say that it's because the migrants are running away from all the harsh realities of their country, which very well may be true. But what I was thinking is, when somebody decided to run for office and gave this catchy slogan that took the hearts of America and put him right in the office. Make America great again. I really should go get me a MAGA hat. I started to get one, but you know, people back home probably if they knew what it was, or they'd probably throw it in the trash. That's the only reason why I didn't get the ornament. You know? It wouldn't last. When I had a picture of President George W. Bush Jr. up in my room, he somehow magically got trashed. So, hey. That was years ago, but I'm looking at it for what it is now. And basically, when I look at these migrants, a lot of people say that they shouldn't be welcome here. Or then you have some people who sit there and say we should bring them in. Bring them in by the droves. But then you got to think about it. If you're making America great again, you're putting a 45% tariff on all imported goods, forcing companies to stop outsourcing and bring all those jobs back here to America and have your stuff American made. Those third world countries that was dependent on their income is going to only do what? Follow the money. They need money in order to survive, and for years, decades, our country has been providing tons of wealth to these third world countries. Outsourcing jobs, taking jobs away from Americans and giving them to foreigners, you know. So now if you was to bring all those jobs back here to America, what do you think those people are doing? Because once you take the jobs out of those areas and new jobs are not being created, of course, all the crime and everything else that goes along with it is going to rise right on up. So what do you expect? You know? They want their jobs. And they feel that we're stealing their jobs away from them, when really the exact opposite was true. They were stealing our jobs. And then those companies were making all that money off of American citizens. Stuff that they was having made in foreign territories, third world countries. I remember when I was working back at CR England. and I picked up a trailer. They told me that it was a high-end load. So therefore, they gave me the instructions not to stop for at least 200 miles. After I pick the trailer up, get it all set up, and leave. Don't stop for bathroom breaks, don't stop for none of that. It's a high-end load. Once I got the picked the load up, I picked it up down in the Laredo. I was right at the CR England terminal. You know, down in Laredo, I picked it up. And I brought it all the way north. I think I made it as far as, because it was headed towards California. I made it as far as, where was I? Arizona. Somewhere in Arizona, I had to stop at the rest area to take my 10-hour break. But they didn't want me sitting at the rest area, so they sent somebody else to swap loads with me, and so therefore they could get the load there faster. They brought in a team, you know, so that way, because in teams, you know what I'm saying, while one driving, the other one sleeping. As soon as the other one finishes his or her shift, the next driver gets on his or her shift, and they continue on. That truck is constantly driving, so therefore they're never really sleeping at these rest stop areas unless they need 34-hour resets or something. So when they picked it, they swapped right before they swapped it. I had to turn in my portion of the paperwork, and I just happened to look over the bills, and I noticed that the whole shipment was a Victoria's Lead. It was a Victoria's Secrets load. And I said, well, damn, this trailer originated down in Mexico. So there's no telling where they got the stuff from. So I'm like, I'm seeing transporting millions of dollars worth of bras and panties. And I say it didn't originate in America, it originated down from there in Mexico. So I was like, well, shit. Now I know. Victoria's Secret was one of the companies that was outsourcing jobs, and so therefore, I'm glad. I don't know if the Jenner sisters, Kendall and Kylie, actually went through with the purchase of Victoria's Secrets, because they were set up to go ahead and do that. But I just happened to mention to them, I said, look, all that stuff is coming out of Mexico. A lot of that stuff made for Victoria's Secret. I know because I just happened to carry one of their loads once. And actually a couple of their loads. But I had to point out, President Trump is putting a 45% tariff on all imported goods. Why would you buy a company that took on a problem with 45% tariffs? You know, they're happily trying to get rid of that company to you for $300 million. That was $150 million each sister. The put towards I don't know if they bought it or not. That's on them. But the only thing I can say is, I told them, I was like, why would you take on their problems? They're trying to get rid of that company because they don't want the problem of trying to bring all that jobs and stuff and shut down them factories and everything else down in these other countries, the third world countries or whatever it is, and come up here and reopen new factories here. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to take on that problem. So therefore, they try to sell the problem to you. Why would you do that? If they didn't, hurrah to them, you know. But that's on them. So now I'm looking at this migrant situation with a little different eyes than a lot of people has been paying attention to. You know, because some people they're protesting at the border to keep the people out. While you got people who are following under these Democrats talking about, yeah, bring them in and all. They have a right, and they're literally fighting the U.S. government for that. But here's the problem. America already has a job problem. A problem with people finding employment. Why would you import thousands of more people, and then what I hear is another caravan of maybe 10,000 or more people coming from somewhere else? They planning on coming up to that border too and trying to get into the country. I mean, damn, pretty soon we're gonna have all of their citizens in our country. We already got a job crisis as is. Why take on that problem? I'm down here in Texas, and Texas is literally one of the top states for unemployment. Michigan is another state at the top of the unemployment list. And I mean top rated. You know, for unemployment. It's not that you don't have the people that can't get the job, because you got the citizens right here that can use the work, get off that EBT and all the other good stuff. I used to depend on it, but you know what's crazy? Every time Republicans tried to increase the employability of people and cut out food stamps or whatever, Democrats put the squeeze on me, and there it was. I was depending on the EBT. I need it, you know. So I'm looking at it for what it is, you know. Why would you take on that serious problem of letting all those doggone... I mean, it was 6,000 in this caravan, and then another 10 is planning on coming. How many more is going to come after that? And then after that, this is not a problem that just arose. This is a problem. This has been an ongoing problem for several presidencies, under several different presidents. You know? People streaming across the border when we didn't have a wall. Now we building a wall to try to help slow down the process, at least slow it down. You know? They're still finding ways around the wall right now because it's not completed. So now you have to literally do that. But then I'm looking at the countermeasures being used against the migrants to keep them from crossing the border. You know, they're throwing rocks, demanding that we let them in. We don't really have to let you in. President Trump at first, you know, said that if they pick up we're gonna shoot back. But then he had to recant his words. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He's just recently authorized the use of tear gas. But here's the problem with using tear gas. He said it's a very safe tear gas. It's a lower class of tear gas. It's still effective, but it's a lower class of it, so therefore it's not as strong. But it's a good countermeasure. Here's the problem with that. President Trump has many enemies. America has many enemies. So that means American citizens have many enemies out here in this world. And some of our own American citizens are enemies of the government. It's crazy, but it is. And so now what we have to deal with is some genius, really a shit for brains, getting their hands on some mustard gas or sarin gas or whatever, and trying to get it passed off as tear gas, and we end up with a situation like was done up in Egypt, where they said that the people was being poisoned with those sarin gas and mustard gas and all the other stuff, and it was having adverse effects and even killing them. You know, you got some people who actually do that. Now, I'm not, President Trump will say that I'm not authorizing none of that, so I'm not saying President Trump. But I'm just saying, we got some numbskulls out here in this country that will actually do some dumb shit like that, you know? Make the whole situation worse. Bring the eyes of the world. The eyes of the world is already on it. But now you're not just looking at the international community watching this, but now you're going to have action going on. Why? Because just like several countries stepped in Egypt, Russia included, is now with the use of that, you could very well give Russia a means to speak to the General Assembly and say that we need to protect these migrants and try to come down here and set up shop along the Mexican border. America is no longer a part of the UN, even though it's based here in America, over there in New York. I think I passed the building a couple of times. But I'm just saying, why would you want to bring America's fear of a Russian army to the Mexican border when you already got people sitting there claiming that we have tanks, foreign army military tanks with red stars, you got this, you got that? I mean, these people, some people make up these stories, but sometimes you never know what's actually true. People have been trying to beef up problems between America and Mexico, but then you got to think about it. Years ago, Russia offered Mexico 3 of our states if they allow them to march an army right through their country, straight on up to our border, right on into. He didn't say to our border, he said into our country. We just happened to intercept that message and made it publicly known. People forget about that. They've been flying that TU, what was that, the White Swan around the Gulf of Mexico. You know what the TU something, I forget the number, but it's called the White Swan. We have watered down version of it, but it's an actual bomber, a bomber plane that's just as big as a bomber, but it moves just like a fighter jet, and it moves just as fast as a fighter jet. It handles like a fighter jet, but it's a bomber. So that's something you just gotta really think about. You know, Russia has nuclear tanks out in these waters hovering around. They said they was issuing them a couple of years ago to come to the coast of California. But how do we know where they really are? That was over 2 years ago, maybe 3. But you got to look at it for what it is. Nuclear submarines carry nuclear missiles that can fire up in the air. They don't just have torpedoes. They got nuclear missiles that can fire up in the air and go and land anywhere in this damn country. And you put them out there on the coast of California. A lot of people forgot about that. They so busy following all this other new news that they forget about the old stuff that's really relevant. How do we know that all of them submarines went to the coast of California? How do we know that they're not down there in the Gulf of Mexico or along the East Coast? Nuclear ships don't have to literally create their own air from the water. They don't have to surface. They can do that for like 2 years before they have to surface. So with all of these storms and whatever, they can surface during the middle of a storm, and radar won't pick it up because there's too much turbulence there, or too much too many waves or whatever is what's going on in these hurricanes and stuff. They can rise up there, you know, so refuel or whatever it is they need to do, and then drop right back down. And for another 2-year period. Don't think that they can't go get food from somebody. They just reopened back one of their nuclear facilities down in Cuba after forgiving $80 billion worth of debt. That put them right back over here with us once again. So just give us 5. Don't worry about it. Give us 5 and let us open up our nuclear facility again. Let us put our troops there. They're now back on this side of the earth. So you got to think about that. But people follow this new news and forget about the old news. You know? So why would you want to put Russia right on your border? But like I said, you got some numbskulls in this country who have nothing else better to do than to create mischief like that. We let Russian soldiers into America, tell you the truth. Under the guise of they wanted to get married. Why couldn't they get married in their own country? Oh, my bad. They were gay. Russia doesn't accept the gay agenda. But guess what? America does. So they so-called elope to America. Not just 1 or 2 troops of soldiers elope to America to get married because they were gay. Something just don't sit right with me on that, with that. Because those same soldiers could take and train other people. Not how to be gay, but how to be fucking soldiers for the Russian military. And they're right here inside of America. People forgot that we were fighting ISIL, ISIS, and I think we're still fighting them son bitches to this day. But President Obama told you, ISIL forces are in every state here in America. I've seen them back in Michigan at a protest rally, holding up their flag. Yeah, I didn't know what the flag was until I watched the news. And I heard President Obama say they're in every state. And I thought about it. I said, damn, that's the same flag I was just looking at downtown not too long ago. He was right. People forget about that type of stuff. They said Chinese people was literally coming across the border dressed as Mexicans because they hide the corners of their eyes and all the other good, the slats and everything, and they come across the border as Mexicans because they look a little Mexican. How many Chinese people is doing that? They could actually be right there in the midst with the migrants too. And guess what? We're not at good odds with, we're at odds with China even as we speak. Our military is down in the South China Sea. Who knows what we're planning on doing down there? Or wherever else that we are. I'm just saying. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot. So these are just a few of the points that I wanted to point out at, you know what I'm saying, because I want to end this video because it's getting a little long. It's 27 minutes going on 28. It's close to 30. At 33, it's going to shut down this part of the video and start a whole new recorder, which is going to mean I might have to start a part 2. So I don't want to do all of that. So I just want to leave you with this thought. Do you remember the movie Star Wars? Remember at the ending of Star Wars when Darth Vader was trying to talk his son Luke Skywalker into joining the dark side? Serve under the Emperor Palpatine. Luke refused. And Emperor Palpatine started laying into him with that electricity, that lightning. Yeah, just again, and you know what I'm saying, just coming at him, just tagging him with that electricity and shit. Darth Vader was looking at his son writhing on the floor in pain, tossing and turning from side to side, while the Emperor just laying into him. And he made that decision. He looked back to the Emperor Palpatine. He looked at his son. Looked at Emperor Palpatine, looked at his son. And it's something just clicked in his mind. This is my fucking son, you killing son of a bitch. And he went and killed the Emperor. You know? Just think of those migrants as Luke. Mexico as Darth Vader, and Trump as Palpatine, authorizing soldiers to do certain things, which really I said that they should have just let the police handle it. Let the Border Patrol handle it. And the police back them. You know what I'm saying? Bring in some of these, what you call this, these militias. They're at the very bottom of the military. Let them not be right there on the border, but be in the background helping out. But anyways, while you laying into them, to those migrants, Mexico's looking at them. Because we tried it, they tell them, we please stop. We tried to stop them. Then they looking at Americans, just laying into them. And they look back at the migrants, and they looking back at America. What the hell you think is gonna click in their mind? Eventually, if you just continuously laying into them. Especially if you use, if somehow, some way, mustard gas or sarin gas or whatever other type of gas you can think of ends up getting used. What the fuck do you think Mexico is gonna do? And now we got a serious problem on our border. You know? We got to do something. The border wall is just the beginning. But me personally, I believe that these third world countries need to learn how to manage their citizens better than what they have been doing. This is the very reason why we have so many migrants invading our border and trying to stream across it. Later.